Thompson, how are you?
Hi, Stephen. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
You're such a amazing actress. I've had the opportunity to work with you obviously once before, and you just made our movie so much better than our Arrival.
Oh, thank you. It was a fun one to be a part of. It was really
Uh,
fun. Scottie Thompson. I am originally from Richmond, Virginia, where I spent all, through high school in Richmond. I grew up, I have three siblings, an older brother, a younger brother, and a youngest sister, and grew up out in the country. Farm girl, but I got really into ballet when I was pretty young and really actively pursued that with the Richmond Ballet, which is the state ballet of Virginia. And I ended up in their traineeship program when I was a junior and senior in high school. So I left school every day early and went down and trained with mostly gals who had graduated from high school and were like worked coffee shops in the morning because it wasn't a paying program. And then I became an apprentice with the company the year after I graduated high school and thought that I would pursue that path fully. But I also I'd gotten into Harvard my senior year.
oh
And
wow,
um, yeah, and
that's
I love dance so much, but also saw my path with that. Dancers have a limited career capacity, and I wasn't as on. I feel like dance is much more part of our culture now than when I was young. I mean, it's always been, but in terms of like other forms of dance outside of ballet, shows like So You Think You Can Dance and all these things that have come on since that showcase other arenas that you can be a dancer that I wasn't. I was like ballet only. I trained at American Ballet Theater in the summer, at Boston Ballet. So I I saw that my path, I was technically all right. I was much more of stronger in performance on stage than in the classroom. I had like passable skills. Um, so I kind of figured I could have potentially have had a career in Richmond, which would have been great. It's an amazing company, and I really loved studying there and growing up with them. But I also had this other thing that I thought I wouldn't mind. I don't know where that path leads.
what's
And
the other thing?
the school, as my passion was somewhat, I mean, ballet, you have to be so all encompassing. And I think I got to a place in myself where I loved it so much, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to continue to make it my whole life. And I wanted to go see something else, see other things in the world. And so I think that's what ultimately led me to quit dance. And I went to Harvard undergrad. And when I was there, that's when I got into theater. I got really into theater. You couldn't major in it at the time. It was considered too vocational. And I was like, and economics isn't? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? So anyway, I got really into theater there. I took a bunch of, I auditioned for my freshman year. I auditioned. They have this like common casting where they audition for all of the plays the entire semester, and much like Hollywood, they cast the same three people in all of the lead roles in all of the plays, and they can't do all of them because there's like 30 plays a semester.
Yeah.
So I was fifth alternate or something for this one play, and then I ended up getting to do it. Um, and that was the beginning of a new love affair where I was like, oh, I can combine my mind and my body and deepen character work and bring in my body consciousness from ballet and also be able to add on this other layer where you get to work with language. And so I did a bunch of theater when I was in school. I ended up creating my own degree. I was comparative literature with a focus on post-colonial literature and theory. And I came upon my senior year and did not want to write a thesis. Um, and so I was like, I'll do this thing where you create a special concentration because Harvard is kind of snobby, as you know, and they call it a concentration and not a major. So I
Okay.
was one of like 12 special concentrators that year. And I had come up with this bizarre major concentration called post-colonial performance studies.
Okay.
Allowed me to bring my post-colonial literature theory and my experience. I'd studied abroad in Senegal for a semester in West Africa, And then performance studies being the study of performance in the everyday, which spans everything from rituals that we perform in various cultures to getting on stage or screen. So it was a
Wow.
way for me to bring everything together. And I actually ended up, I had to do a senior paper that was far less lengthy than a thesis. And I ironically ended up writing a thesis because my paper advisor was like, this is so great, you should extend it. And I, to this day, don't think I've thoroughly apologized enough to him for my mental breakdown in a Starbucks in Newbury Square, where I was like, you think you write a thesis? But it was a cool thesis on this one woman play about apartheid South Africa that Larry Moss
Oh,
had
wow.
had a student and developed it with her. So I got to interview Larry and I interviewed her. And that was pretty cool, considering like a decade later, I ended up working
Absolutely.
with Larry. So anyway, the summer before my senior year, I knew I wanted to be an actor, but I had no idea how to do it. And so I took a course in downtown Boston because I was working for this travel guidebook. I don't know if you're familiar with Lonely Planet.
No.
Like a budget travel guide, and there's a
Okay.
competitor that's not as well known called Let's Go
Okay,
that
yeah.
is run entirely by Harvard undergrads. So my
Oh, wow.
freshman summer, I got to go to Greece and be a writer, and it was amazing, and just travel around and write about it. And so senior year, I was an editor for Let's Go Vietnam, and I took this course in downtown Boston because I was in Boston for the summer on auditioning for film and television. And
Wow.
yeah, the casting director, well, the woman who taught it was the local casting director in Boston. It's different, it's not like here there's a ton of casting directors. It was then a small community. And so she also she taught the course, but also cast projects. So was like, can I send you auditions if they come through? I said, sure. I missed my first one. It was a commercial. And the second one that came through was for a pilot for Showtime. And I didn't know what Showtime was, and I didn't know what a pilot was because I grew up with PBS only.
Pilots fly airplanes. Just FYI.
Yeah, pilots fly airplanes. That's pretty much what I knew. And so I walked in the room for this cashier that was any gender, any nationality, any race, like anything, any age, just cashier. And she had the character had two lines. It was like, this is a fake $50 bill because it's about the show. It's a show called Brotherhood that ended up on Showtime. And in the room for this tiny role there's no small role, only small people. But because
Yeah.
in the room were the showrunner creator, Blake Masters, and the director of the pilot, Philip Noyce, who had directed Clear and Present Danger, Rabbit Proof Fence. He's kind of a
Big
giant
deal.
like film action history, and he's also a giant Australian dude, like
Yeah.
big man. And so we got to chatting. It turned out Blake's sister had been in the same dorm house that I was at Harvard. And anyway, and they ended up bringing me back for several different roles until they landed me into a recurring role to play opposite Jason Isaacs, who was one of the series regulars, as his love interest.